Here's some top mistakes during this time. Too many early action and early restrictive action colleges. Now, a lot of people think if they apply early, it means they have a better chance of getting in. That's not true. Actually, they have a good chance of being thrown to the regular period. That's statistically what happens because all the colleges are all they're looking for right now is their top students that they could award their top scholarships to. That's why the early action was created, so they can focus early on those students. But if you just have good grades and you're admissible, they'll move you to the regular period anyway. I know there's this belief that things that are done early are better. It's always better to start early, but there are a couple things in this process that's not true about. And this is one of them. So when should you apply early action? And isn't it good to know early? Yeah, okay. But you won't know your financial aid award in most cases, unless you're restrictive early action, you might. But then that restricts you. It's almost like early decision. So too many early action, early restrictive action colleges, it just is when you, just a moment, got a little internet problem here. All right, let's let it catch up with me here. Okay, but too many early action colleges are just, it's hard to manage. And I know you think you're going to hear early, it's a good thing. Now, when do you do it? You do it when there's certain schools that if you apply early action, and you have super high grades, you have a chance for a higher merit award. I can help you with that. There are some schools that are known for that. Like if I was applying to University of San Diego, I would apply early action. I'm just thinking of ones. If I was applying to USC, I would apply. They don't really have early action. They have an early application date, which is November or December 1st, depending on your category. I would try to do November 1st. LMU is that way. Many Black colleges are that way, but you can't do too much. I think 4 is a good number. You'll see why in just a minute here when I get to these other mistakes, I guess you call them. No early FAFSA preparation that you haven't been shown the things you need to look at in early preparation for the FAFSA. And you can bet I'm going to do that today, okay? Early lock-in on non-affordable colleges prevents an objective view of affordable colleges. I mean, the later you get in the process, the less likely are you to consider schools that are a reduced cost. I know you think you will, but there's a reason why things begin to roll down the hill. You just have to get applications in, get the stuff done. And the students don't really want to look at anything but the schools they're applying to, because a lot of them are their top choices. And it's harder to consider that. But you can bet today I'm going to bring that up and ask you to think. I'm not going to specifically state the alternatives. Actually, I will in a way, but I'm going to certainly make the point that you still should be looking for schools that are affordable and that will save your retirement. Incidentally, while my mind is on it, we'll review the events coming up. But in October, down in Lakewood, I'm going to do a really super look at affordability, and I'm going to look at all of these misconceptions about, Donald Trump's going to take away financial aid. He ain't doing nothing like that. But I'm going to show you why it is still going to be a challenge to defeat college costs post-pandemic. Schools are trying to work together to recover their costs. And I'm so sure that there's collusion between schools on these financial aid awards, the most selective colleges anyway. If you have any questions, just go ahead and speak out, since I budgeted time to answer questions, or you can put it in the chat. I'll check it periodically. Okay, so early lock-in. Too many school and community activities given the number of college applications. I mean, you have, 15, 20, 25, 30 applications, and you're super busy in school. Something's got to give, and you're just not going to be able to submit those in a high quality way. So I said, well, what's a high number? Well, I have to know how many activities you have. I mean, if you have one school activity, certainly if it's athletic, I don't think you can handle much more than CSUs, UCs, and about three or four private colleges, but people usually don't agree with me. So, but you don't want the quality to be affected. It's hard because the student is busy, just busy, for them to be involved with a whole lot of applications. But I see it a lot. It is a mistake, I believe, to do that. Lack of affordable colleges on the list. That's kind of related to the third bullet, right? You didn't have it in the beginning, and now at the end, you're being asked to consider colleges, and that's an issue. I'm going to have a lot of opportunities. I've done a video on our favorite affordable colleges, and you can take a look at it on our YouTube channel. If you simply write me an email, I'll link you to it if you have trouble finding it. But it's really a good video. It's short. It's about 3 or 4 minutes. And you might look at that list and say, we don't want to go to any of those schools. That's fine. It just means that, you're going to pay $30,000 to $55,000, $60,000 per year for college. There are some schools that are very affordable, are good buys, every year. They're always that way. They're built to be that way. Okay. Sometimes, this is kind of important. Let me make sure I get this out of the way. Sometimes inadequate, you have inadequate pushback, right, on the school counselor. The counselor is telling your student what to do, or students to counselors telling you what to do, and there's a need for you to push back. Don't be afraid to push back and have schools that you're looking at because some crazy deacon told you. That would be me, the crazy deacon, by the way. Because listen, the schools don't have your interests at heart. They do want to see you go to a very selective college to make their high school look good. Woo! That's a very controversial thing I've said, but I think it's true. It makes that high school look good if it's a private school. And sometimes counselors just believe that the more name brand school you get, the better it is. But I have more students making a lot of money, or just as many, come from schools that are not, quote, name brand schools. I have about 5 students, not saying you have to go to the school, I'm just making a point. I have about 5 students that are making close to 200 G's. They came out of Boise State and Bakersfield, right? I have some that came out of the other schools too, but it doesn't mean because you don't go to one of those schools, you won't be successful. It's going to depend on what you do with the school anyway. So sometimes we have inadequate pushback on these school counselors. And it's kind of unique to public school, but I think I've seen some private ones are macking on your kids and telling them what they should do. And really there should be some pushback, or to feel that you should be the one as a parent involved in what school's on that list. Any questions? Anybody want to? No? Okay. Let's continue. Get right through these. Remember, I told you that the way I look at different types of schools is this way. Out-of-state public universities, California state universities, early action private colleges, and Protestant Christian colleges. You're going to have a super Christian college fare. You want a private school that's affordable within your means. Most of these Christian schools are going to be that way. They're beautiful campuses. They're well invested and take care of the place. And they're a great, safe place for your student to go to college. Anyway, early action private colleges and Protestant Christian colleges and universities of California is a separate type of school to me. And I've grouped them by their characteristics of how to apply. How's that? Regular period private colleges is the other one that rounds it out. Let's see when approximately do we submit these, because I say you're in the application season now. That's September 15th, and move out of the way. September 15th, starting that point, you can do rolling admission to out-of-state schools. That's the next video I'm dropping. What is rolling admission? What types of schools take rolling admission? It means you apply, send the transcript, but within 2 weeks, you know if you're in, all the way up to a specified date. And that would be most of our out-of-state public universities are actually rolling admission. There are exceptions, but that's pretty much true. California state schools, I recommend you apply October 1st to 31st, but they're open to November 30th. And after the 30th, there have recently been 9 to 12 CSUs that are still open, some until March 1st. I don't know what will happen this year. I don't know if we'll get back to our earlier patterns, but schools just closed on the 30th no matter what. But I think October 1st to 31st is a good time to apply for CSU. We'll talk about what you can do to get us involved in that. I hope to have many more. So about 5 people have already signed up. We did an email on it about 3 weeks ago. About 5 people have already signed up for it. I'd hope there would be more. I got a great team I've put together. We're ready. Early action private colleges, typically the 1st to the 15th of November. Like LMU, I do about the 1st. Howard University, about the 1st of November. We're sitting here now, almost at October 1st. University of California, you'll find you can't deliver them even till November 1st. You could work on the application, but you can't deliver it. Regular period private colleges are going to be done throughout the month of December. I'm hoping before Christmas, all of your applications are completed. I highly recommend that approach, no matter how busy you are. This is why if you have a long list, they go into January. I've seen that. January and up, some of them will take it to February 1st because you have so many colleges that you have on your list. And the day after you deliver that 34th college, the day after that, you realize you have too many colleges. Especially when the awards start coming in, they're all about the same, right? So think about that list, trying to cut down the list. Next meeting I'm going to talk about, which I'm going to have sooner, there won't be as much gap, there's maybe about 3 weeks. I'll talk about how to cut that list down. Maybe I'll do a video on it and do view graphs on it. Application essay development applies to those last 3 groups, and we give one-on-one youth support of the essay process. We're helping about 7 students right now at various stages on their essays. Maybe more than 7, I don't know actually. We do application delivery support for your student through all the types of schools. Okay, so that's the college admission process showing our support too. Here's some common app process misconceptions and clarifications that need to be made this time of the year. First of all, some of you believe it requires a personal statement. It's not a personal statement. And I've run into families where the child has written this personal statement like the parent did when they went to college or like they heard about it 10 years ago. But things have changed. No longer they say just write us a general statement about you. They don't do that. One of the questions in Common App is similar to it, but even that is not it, okay? It's going to be pick one essay from 6 very specific questions. So it's not just do a personal statement. So let's remember that, parents. It's really not. I didn't put it on here. I can't believe I didn't put it on there, but some people still think there's recommendation letters. There are not recommendation letters. It doesn't work that way. In the Common App, you put the email address of the teacher, and the Common App sends them a form, and they fill out the form and make comments. And there's no letter anymore. No more letters, everybody. Let's don't say recommendation letter. There's no such thing. Okay? Fee waivers. It's possible if you have a community-based organization assisting your student. Oh, that's us. So if we're helping your students submit their Common App, you probably are going to have fee waivers if you deliver before, I think about December 15th, it gets problematic. Universities do not challenge if there is not a boatload of, if you don't have like 30 applications, they won't challenge if you have a community-based organization listed in your Common App. And if I'm working with you, I always make sure I get the login and I put that in there. And so now I also check off the waiver when I'm in there as well. And sometimes they'll email me and say, can I vouch for you? I'll say yes. Okay? So that's a good reason to work with a community base. Same thing with CSU. If we do your students' application for them and then show the student how to follow up, CSU says we can do a discretionary fee waiver. We have a code for that. So this is the kind of thing that can happen if you're dealing with a community-based organization. They can help to vouch for you if there's some special situation that where you have enough income, but there's a situation, or they can make a judgment call. In this case, it's us. Just about all schools are on the common applications, what some people think. No, many private colleges and some public universities are on the Common App. It's about 800 schools. But my goodness, there's 4,000 in the United States. Okay? However, not all colleges are not even nearly all on the Common App. For information, CSUs and UCs are not on the Common Application. Biola and George Washington, for example, are not on the Common Application. Okay? Most public universities are not on the Common Application. So let's not think it covers all the schools. That gets us into the Black Common App we'll talk about in a minute. Nearly all colleges that are not on the Common Application also do not have essays. So it makes me think a lot of times schools get on the Common App to make you have to do that essay. Like Arizona State for years was not on the Common App, University of Arizona was. But Arizona State joined up during the pandemic because they wanted to see samples of students writing. So when you see here Common App, it means you're going to submit the essay. They're going to see your Common App essay, which goes to all your Common App schools. And they may even have a supplemental essay, by the way. Okay. Is that cat app? Okay. Okay. In case you're wondering about HBCU Common Application, this comes up this time of year usually. Yes, but it's mostly public universities that are also mostly Black. Traditionally Black colleges, we call those, like Virginia State, Norfolk State. What's the other one I was just looking at the other day? Jackson State. The application fee will be $20, but for your first four, it's going to ask your top four picks, and they'll let you pay $20 for all four. The other Black schools you put on, let's say you put another 10, those might request a fee, particularly if you get admitted. They may request a fee. One school I remember put it on the bill. So, but the top four that you state, if you apply to those schools and you get in, that nobody's going to question you for an application fee if you want to use that. However, notice Black schools that are more selective and private accept the regular Common App. Tuskegee, Howard, Spelman. You know what I'm saying? They all are going to require the Common App, the selective ones. And some of them are not selective, like Dillard. They're on the Common App. They're private schools and they're Black. They're probably on the Common App. It's mostly state schools on the Black Common Application. The HBCUs most prefer to see writing as a part of the application. The most select. Notice I switched terminology to HBCUs because HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, like 99% of them are private schools. I know we use it collectively. We'll say, Florida A&M is a HBCU. We'll say Jackson State's an HBCU. I hear it all the time, but they're not really. They're traditionally Black colleges, okay? But when I switch terminology to HBCU, it's in recognition we're talking about private and some of them selective, right? Black colleges. Most prefer to see writing as a part of the application and will accept only the Common App and their supplement. I think it's Howard has 2 supplemental essays this year that are through the Common App. Howard, Spelman, Morehouse, Tuskegee, Fisk, and Hampton take only the regular Common Application. They don't take the Black Common App. 90% of HBCU Common Application schools, they also take the regular Common App. They're taking both. How about that? I know Virginia State's that way. They're on the Black Common App and they take the regular. So if you have a mixture of Black schools and private majority schools, just do the Common App and get it out of the way. That's what I think. Okay, Black college application. Here's some things that they have on it, just so you know. It's easy admission. It's outside of the top. Oh, I think I should talk about the advantages of Black, or general information. What kind of advantages of Black college application? Outside of the top private Black, so there's easy admission to Black colleges outside of the top private ones that I just mentioned. You're going to have easy admission. It's not going to be a problem at all in getting in. Usually no SAT is required. However, the SAT is needed for academic merit awards. So that's why if a student says they're applying to HBCU, I recommend they take SAT prep and take the SAT to try to get some money. And I mentioned it during the prep. You're trying to go for money here. Let's be serious. The only need-based aid is federal aid when you go to black school. Federal aid, the schools do not do institutional need. I guess Howard does a little bit. But in general, look at them, they have a huge endowment. The only need-based aid is federal aid. It's a maximum of $11,500 versus the $30,000 to $55,000 direct cost for black colleges. This is for GPAs that are below 3.4. Now, if you have a high GPA, you can cut into that significantly with a black college. And some of you who are 3.5, 3.6, you know, there are certain black colleges like Delaware State, Virginia State, Norfolk State. I think you're only going to pay 10 or 12,000 even out of state to go to that school. Some will weight the out of state fee above a certain GPA. Majority black state colleges are very affordable with GPAs above 3.5. So if you have a high GPA, it's a good safety school where you'll get good money. I mean, a school like Morgan State, you know, for example, there's a lot of good out-of-state merit awards for students. Universities of California. Has anybody put a question in the chat? If you have, just speak it out. I got these slides up. I forgot. I can't really see it. Just let me know if you have any questions, please. Universities of California, some important information and misconceptions. Highly selective, the UCs are highly respected, highly selective, highly respected research colleges with way fewer majors than you might expect. They're research schools. They're not a lot of majors. I mean, I think Cal State LA has 282 majors, right? UCLA has I think it's about 30 to 32, 33 majors, okay? Students are encouraged to prepare for their master's degree. The teachers in UC are always telling the students you should be getting ready for your master's degree. They're not really talking about the workplace like CSU would or other schools. Think about that. That's very important. Let's see. Special attention should be given to post-college careers. If you're going to UC, you'll have to get out on your own and start building your career. I know my students who are in UC, I'm very, very aware of that. I'm sending things in the alumni newsletter to them. I'm super aware that they're in a research school. They're going to have to look for a job when they get out. And some say, well, they went to UC, they'll find a job real easy. No, the world now has become so much. What have you done? What can you do for our company? What experiences do you have? A lot of times students at UC don't get job experiences. They get academic experiences and research experiences. I hope I made that point clear there. UC's target admission to the top 10% of high school students. That's what they're looking for. The top 10% of high school students. Here's a list of the undergraduate UCs by selectivity last year, based on last year's data that we received a month ago. And it matches what I have in my data, by the way. UCLA was the most difficult UC to get into. It bounces between UCLA and UC Berkeley. UC Berkeley was second among UCs. By the way, now that I say that, there are some CSUs that were more selective than UCLA and UC Berkeley. I bet you didn't know that. UC San Diego, I'll mention it later, I'll show you. UC San Diego, UC Santa Barbara, these are in order. UC Irvine, UC Riverside, UC Santa Cruz, and UC Merced. The GPAs range from 3.6 to 4.2 plus for the most selective four schools. 4.2 weighted is what they're looking for UCLA, UC Berkeley, UC San Diego, UC Santa Barbara. Now, I can more comfortably predict that now because there's no SAT. They don't have the SAT to look at. And your writing needs to be banging. I heard of kids anecdotally that were 4.5, 4.6 and didn't get in. And I have to figure their essays weren't very good. They didn't go through me, so I can't tell what they wrote. But neither me or Brianna or Quinn or anybody looked at them, so I don't know. But that's these. So when I tell you GPA, it's pretty close to being right. Now, can a student below those GPAs apply? Sure, they can apply. It's just going to be a harder, bar to get over to get into UC. No SAT score is required or even considered for UC. More on UC. 4 essays and a relatively detailed application with self-reporting of the grades. And that little self-report's a little confusing. Again, if we're working with you on your CSUs and you have UCs, we'll be glad to check your grades and make sure they're in right. Okay? Because both of them have self-reports that are somewhat similar. Just self-reporting your grades. Application cannot be delivered until November 1st, even though it's available to complete now. No teacher recommendations are required in the first application. Some UCs request one if you're on the waiting list, or they might be trying to figure out if they want to admit you. They might ask for a recommendation or another essay. Bet you didn't know that. UCs are nearly 2 times the cost of CSU, but below 60,000 in family income, they seem to be quite affordable. They'll find you enough money and you'll think it's affordable if your income in your house is below 60. When you start getting to 70 and 80, you may not agree that it's affordable. I don't know. By the way, you might wonder what I mean by affordable. I'll put an asterisk so I can remember to tell you. I feel like if you're paying $400 or $500 a month for college and you never paid tuition before, I think that's affordable. It's a stretch, but it's affordable. If you already have students in school, I don't change. I think it's $400 or $500, but you may find it easier because it may be lower. So when I say lower than what you're paying for private school, so when I say affordable, that's what I mean by affordable. So if it's below 60,000 in cost, it's going to be very affordable. Between 60 and 80, somewhat affordable. When you get to 80,000, I don't think you'll agree with me. Where do CSUs fit in? State of California it's a state of California public college. Per the higher education plan of the state, 2-year colleges, 113 of them, for all students are available and they can get you transfer degrees to CSU and UC. No problem there. Anybody can get into 2-year college to do college prep, prepare for college. University of California has 9 campuses. That's not true. There's 8 undergraduate campuses and 1 post-grad medical school for students preparing to go to medical school. It takes the top 10% of high school students. Okay, I said that earlier. The California State University has 23 campuses. Oops, 22 now, because CSU Maritime merged with CSU Poly San Luis Obispo. So they take the top 33 to 40% of high school students in a given school. And that means they have a bunch that are more selective. You'll see in a minute that there's 4 CSUs that are incredibly selective, than others that pretty much can get in. It's not that hard. Remember, those 33 to 40% is an average, right? So here's the campus list. Again, if you have a copy of the presentation, I'm not going to observe anything about the regions this time. I did that last time. But these are all the CSUs that we have. I don't think I've even updated with I saw Maritime on this list. I got to remember to fix that. So these are all the CSUs. Notice the LA area compared to what? Compared to, we don't have it here. Oh, we don't have what's we do? Southern California. Look at the South California CSUs. There are only 2. And look how many we have in the LA area. That's a clue to why it's so hard to get into San Diego State. That is a clue to why it's so hard to get into San Diego State. They have a limited amount of spots. Okay? Let's continue. Anybody had something in the chat? I can't see it. Let me know now. Okay? Most selective and popular CSUs. Here we go.
Deacon,
Go right
sorry.
ahead. Go right ahead.
I just asked for the CSUs, do they require supplemental essay or personal statement?
No essays, no teacher recommendations, just a gnarly little self-report of the grades.
Okay, thank you.
And boy, it's gnarly. People I'd say 1 out of 3 make a mistake on it. And that's why we do it for students. Here's the most selective CSUs: San Diego State, CSU Poly San Luis Obispo, CSU Long Beach, CSU Fullerton, and San Jose State. So unless you're in those areas with your school, Unless your high school is in one of those areas, like if you're at Wilson High School, then CSU Long Beach is going to be easy to admit, right? Easier, way easier. If you're going to Downey High School, you can get into CSU Fullerton pretty easy. Do you understand how that works? It's if your school is in that area. Now, Poly San Luis Obispo doesn't have an area. It brings students in across the state, but it is incredibly selective. It's the most selective public university in the United States and actually highly regarded. If you're 3.8, 3.9 or above weighted, certainly if you're over 4.0 weighted, that would be a school you could apply to any of these 4 or 5 here. These are the most selective and popular CSUs. Okay. So the easiest to admit CSUs, Dominguez Hills, Channel Island, Sonoma State, Stanislaus State, CSU San Bernardino. They're the most easiest to admit CSUs. And of course, CSU Bakersfield, which by the way, closes on November 30th every year because they have plenty of students by that time usually. So that's a clue. You can have a school that's easy to admit but meets their enrollment goals. The CSUs that are not meeting their enrollment goals are under financial pressure from CSU Central. They're getting their budgets cut if they don't get to the enrollment levels they need to be at. So we all think it's going to be this easy again next year to get into schools. Now, I don't have a whole bunch of the ones that are in the middle, but I found them quite easily to admit. I didn't put the GPAs in here. I'll do that when I present in Lakewood or when I do a video or something. But typically, you have a lot of schools in that mid-range, you know, that you can be 2.9 to 3.2 and you get in. You know, I don't have Cal State LA on the list of selective schools, but I should, because it turns out if you're not in the LA area, it's going to be hard to get in, but most of you are. So that's why I just didn't put it on that list. They're kind of in the middle because there's 22 of these. I only really addressed 12, I believe. Here are the director picks. All right, here's the ones that I like for career development, campus environment, the connections I have with the campus. I think I might have skipped one here. I'll let you know what that was. CSU Bakersfield is our closest partner right now. Sonoma State, super close. Fresno, same. San Diego State, Cal State LA, really close to Cal State LA. We also have a good partnership with CSU Long Beach. How could I forget? They're actually partners of our Summer Algebra Institute and could have been listed here as well. I know some people around the admissions office and in the management of the school. So I call these my top director picks for CSUs. What does it take to get into CSU? Well, 2.5 minimum for non-impacted CSUs. So that list where it said everybody gets in, those are non-impacted. I explain impaction if you want to hear about it on videos and in the last meeting we did. I'll be glad to share that with you. But basically the ones who are on that last list, the list where I said it's easiest to admit are non-impacted CSUs. And I should say non-area impacted, meaning they don't have so many people from the area that they can't take people from other parts of the state just as easily. They're just not as popular, let's put it that way. Test scores will not be required or accepted for CSU. Remember, it's only A through G subjects. See next page, we'll look at that. How is it computed? Well, how does the GPA compute? It's the cumulative UC CSU GPA for 3 years of high school. That's what they're going to look at. On the transcripts, what is it called? It's called academic GPA, university GPA, or UC-CSU GPA, or just weighted GPA. So why don't you order your student's transcript, take a look. That's a good assignment. You should have a copy of the transcript anyway for 3 years, just hanging around. You're going to need it if I help with the applications anyway. On the application, where you're specific, you'll be specifically asked to note the classes that are in progress and planned. And they will have to be also self-reported as your 12th grade record. Because you won't know the grades when you apply in October, but they want to know what you're in, what you're taking, and what you plan to take the next semester. Those are all requirements for a CSU application. No, but there's no essay, no teacher recommendations, nothing like that. The high school course requirements for CSU. Notice I kind of get away from saying A through G. I just say they're A through G compliant. Okay. Just stand by. Okay. Just A through G compliant. English, 4 years of English. I should probably say, I really think you should have in your senior year, you should be doing a writing class, not a creative writing. Now, a lot of you are already in your class and nothing you can do about it. But that's why I took the comment off here the year it started. But if there are any 11th grade parents seeing this, I really think you should have a writing class from your school that 4th year. I get too much of this students going to college who are good students, yet they fail freshman writing, right? Or get a bad grade because they haven't done a lot of expository writing. They've done a lot of creative writing, you know. And I see that occasionally in the essays that I'm reading too. More of a creative writing piece than expository writing that's answering a specific question. For math, the minimum is a year each of Algebra 1, Advanced Algebra. Notice we don't call Algebra 2 anymore. It's Advanced Algebra. There's a whole story behind that, but I won't get into that right now. Geometry, we recommend a 4th year of math or quantitative reasoning. Now, people see that and think, my God, it has to be a AP calculus. No, there's nothing saying that at all. A lot of students become engineers and just took a 4th year of math. They're engineers today. Don't think you're precluded from things because you don't have the highest of it when you leave the school. It's not really true, but that's the math requirement for CSU. Despite what people say, listen, parents, despite what people say, and tell your friends this, if they tell a kid they don't have to take Algebra 2 and they can take data science or something, that person is keeping that student out of college. And this year, as well as last year, I caught a lot of that stuff happening and told the parents go back in the school and get advanced algebra. See, they think they're helping your Black student by not giving them a more challenging math. But this is one of those cases where I wish sometimes some folks just stop trying to help us because it's just hindering us and chances to get STEM jobs later. You say, well, they're not interested. Well, a lot of kids change their mind when they get to college and they want to do something like in finance or in science, and they're math. They never took Algebra 2. So I don't I don't like the idea that students can go, that there are people who want UC and CSU to not require Algebra 2, which is advanced algebra. Okay. Lab science is going to be lab life and lab physical science, 1 year of each. And I didn't say chemistry, but yeah, chemistry is the typical physical science. It could be a physics class. They could take a 3rd year of science and it'd be physics. I do think it's necessary. I think students should take a 3rd year of science. It could be their quantitative reasoning, right? They should take a 3rd year of science if they're going to do a science major. But a lab life course, like biology or marine biology, or I can't think of the other one. I see a lot. And physical science, like chemistry. Sometimes I see environmental science. Not even the AP one, that's fine. Or I see astronomy, I see physics, things like that. Social studies or history is 2 years of that. Language other than English, LOTE, is 2 years. I recommend 3. And art, one full year of the same art. Can't mix and match, 1 full year of the same art. Okay. Then you have an elective, 1 year of electives. You probably have more. 2-3 years is not uncommon. So those are the high school course requirements for CSU. How can we help? How we can help? I shouldn't add a question mark, right? How we can help with the CSU application. The application has no essay, no teacher recommendation. Of course, I already mentioned that again. However, it does have a tricky self-report on 50% of the application. I mean, I should have said that 50% of people have trouble with it, okay? We can submit it for your student and then show the students how to follow up. We will then follow up with the student and make sure that they are reading the emails and they're setting up their portals properly, because CSU doesn't communicate by mail. It's all done through digital portals. So we want to show the student how to set that up properly. We just had them come over to the church last year and did them all in 2 big sessions. I did a bunch of them online too. 5 families have signed up to have us help them with their CSU application. The application becomes available on October 1st. Wow, we're getting there quick. It doesn't mean it's due on October 1st, everybody. I'm going to say the same thing about the FAFSA. There's people being terrorized right now because their beta test FAFSA dropped. I don't do beta test FAFSAs, so I didn't really mention it to you all. But yet I see the stress levels raising. People think they're late for the FAFSA. You're not late. The priority date for CSU is March 2nd. The earliest school I know that needs something is December 15th. So you're plenty of time to file your FAFSA. Plenty of time. Actually, that's not true when I said it's February 15th. There's plenty of time to do it. We'll have a small fee that we'll charge that we put away for our foster kids that come to us. Well, we have 2 coming to us this year for help. That's how we raise the funds for it. It's $45. We'll file the FAFSA and we'll answer any financial aid questions that come up once the FAFSA has, or once in this case, the application, once the CSU application has been done. So it's a $45 fee. Now, if we do your FAFSA too, we'll probably drop the price on the FAFSA. We have not decided. For the FAFSA, it's again a donation to a program to allow us to serve others. Boy, you check with some of these online FAFSA providers, and I saw $500, $700, $400. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. We can help you with that very easily. We'd even aid you if you're doing it, and it'll be free when you do it. Okay, we just want to see it get done. How about college enrollment and the financial aid process? So here's a chart here for the 26-27 FAFSA, which is a FAFSA that's being filed after October 1st. There's going to be a financial aid verification by the college, and they're going to use the 2024 tax transcripts and tax forms will be automatically loaded to the FAFSA that they'll be reviewing, and there'll be a financial aid award. Now, if there's no review, you go right to financial aid award. Sometimes colleges don't, they just take the data and just award. But you can't know which ones they go into detail and which ones they don't. They have a certain amount of colleges that will do a CS profile, right? Which is a second financial aid document above and beyond the FAFSA. It's not required for CSU, not required for UC, not required for most schools. It's about 600 schools that require it, that require that document, okay? I think I have it here somewhere. Well, I don't, okay. And that document requires you to upload your federal tax return for 24. And then they can do a financial aid award, and there could be a non-custodial parent. Yes, you heard it. If you're filing a CS profile and you have a second parent, they could get the second parent's information. Still have both parents' information on considering the financial aid award. Now, do all schools do that? No. Only a small group of private colleges, the most selective and expensive ones, they're the ones that do it. Okay. If you have any questions on that, I'll be glad to take them. So if you have a separated house or divorced house, then one student will be the FAFSA parent. I hope that you'll pick, well, we'll talk about how to pick it later. That's another meeting. And the other one is the non-custodial parent. So if you just file a FAFSA, only that one parent will be involved. The non-custodial is not required to put information on the FAFSA. Now, unless they're married in the same house, we will cover that later. Okay? So there's about 800 colleges that are on the CS profile. And the non-custodial information, look over here, is required by 640 colleges. FAFSA facts to consider. FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. The FAFSA is for the 26-27 academic year. It's based on 2024 income. That's pretty important. 2024 income, not this year's income. This year will be next year. The first date for filing the FAFSA is October 1st. We recommend that all FAFSAs be filed from October 1st to 31st. We'll be ready to file FAFSAs. I'm going to send out the FAFSA data sheets next week. Watch your email. Those FAFSAs will be completed first in date order that we receive the data. And it's very basic information this year. I was telling a parent earlier, no financial information will be needed because we're going to transfer it from the tax return. It's going to be transferred automatically by the federal government. What will I need? And we'll tell you later, but it's pretty basic. We're going to need the name of each person, each parent and the student. If it's one parent and the student. We're going to need the social security numbers, date of birth, cell phone number. Can you believe that? And email address. And they need to be unique for each parent and each student. But we'll request all that. Don't worry. The FAFSA is based on the 2024 income. I'll say it again there. Some selected private schools also require the CS profile. The profile will probably require information on the divorced or separated non-custodial parent. 80% of the time they do. The FAFSA only requires the information on one parent. So clearly you need to talk to them if you want alternatives that don't require the CS profile. And there are some schools that require the CS profile, but don't review it. So again, somebody like me can help you to round that list out. If you want some schools on there that your student may want, or students that you may want, okay, that only require one parent's, the custodial parent's income. There's some more things you need to know about the FAFSA. The FAFSA is not wholly user-friendly. It's highly likely that you will make a mistake if this is your first time. But usually the mistake is not critical, but sometimes it is. Sometimes. It's not user-friendly. Here's what you will need to file a FAFSA. I talked about, oh no, I didn't talk about this. FAFSA username and password for youth and parent. The 2024 federal tax return information. But you're not going to require it. It'll be automatically retrieved. I should have said that you filed the return. You're really required to have. Now, if you didn't file it, you can make estimates, but it's a little tedious, but it can be done. Again, talk to me if there's some kind of bind you're in. Mistakes on the FAFSA also happen when the follow-up phase, when colleges ask you questions, and you think you need to make changes yourself to the FAFSA. Don't do that. Talk to someone like me who knows how the FAFSA is put together. I can help you to talk with the financial aid office. Sometimes I even join calls and work with families directly with the financial aid office. Please, no youth should file their own FAFSA. If you're a youth, you're hearing this, you should not be filing your FAFSA as a first-year student. Don't do that. Wait till later when you get me training you or somebody shows you what to do. Do not have a commercial service file your students' FAFSA and charge you hundreds of dollars. Don't do that. We just take a donation on our end. Other FAFSA considerations. Order your username. There I go saying again. Order your username and password today. Use the following URL to create the password. Or you can just Google password creations FAFSA. Boom, you create your password. Remember, youth and parent each need a FAFSA username and password, both of you. If it's two parents, there's 3 of them we need, right? We need 3 usernames and passwords. Take the time to order the username and password today. There I go again. Do it now so that if it's a problem in 2 months, it's not now getting into the deadlines. If you have a school that's early with financial aid. Important tips when creating your password. Both students must create it. Each should use their names as they appear on each's social security card, not necessarily the ID or what you're known as, okay? So it's on that social security card. Watch out for assumed names after divorce. Sometimes after divorce, people will change their last name, but on the social security card, it's still the original name. That's the name. That's your FAFSA name. If you use some different name, you or we will not be able to file the FAFSA because it's trying to match the social security number with the person's name. Boy, I hope that was clear. It comes up every year. The name may be hyphenated after marriage. Sometimes people will hyphenate their name to the public, right? But the social security card was not changed. Okay? That happens a lot. When making the FAFSA username, keep it simple. Here's our format recommendation. First initial, last name, 3, 4, or 5 numbers. Hey, keep it simple, okay? Have mercy on a guy like me who's preparing your FAFSA. Keep it really simple, okay? FAFSA password, 4 letters, can be 4 letters, 1 capitalized, 4 numbers, and 1 special symbol if you want, special character. Keep it really simple, okay? Now, the new FAFSA product, a lot of you have had students before that went through college, or you went to college, even as a graduate student. This FAFSA process is different. They changed it during the last administration. This is now our third time using it. And I see we're being on, the form is so flawed. I was going to say something else, but so flawed the last 2 years that the FAFSA wasn't available till January. But this year I think it will be available October 1st. Well, the beta test version is already out. I never used beta test version of the FAFSA. And I'm glad I didn't last year, because a lot of people who filed early with that beta version had continuing problems with their FAFSAs. So I'll start filing them in October once I get data sheets back from you. We'll be sending you a data sheet in email probably tomorrow and Tuesday. Okay? It will require youth and parent to work very close together in this process. Wow, you never lied about that. They have to be in the same room, and I'll be sending codes to the cell phone while I'm filling it out. And literally everybody in the family needs to be available. It's a bit easier for underserved students to complete this form. The form is easy. It's a very easy form, but due to the confusing way the form and process is handles the parents, step parents, and live-in partners and all that, it's way more confusing and challenging. But I can help you with all that. Just fill out a form when you get it. I'll see it and we'll file the FAFSA. The form's assumptions about who needs to provide income is not always fair and equitable. It's just not. So here we go again. I mean, you know, if you put down a certain parent, they're going to transfer their tax information. They're going to read it, and they're going to determine, you know, what your award should be, basically. Students with two married parents and step parents in the household must request that both parents submit their full personal information. They're cracking down on that too. So, you know, see me, I can give you advice on other things you could do that are legal. See, that's the key. The new FAFSA attempts to close loopholes in the process and makes it way more difficult for some to successfully complete their FAFSA. The current FAFSA is more user unfriendly than ever, particularly in how it gets the parent information, especially when the married father and mother live in the same house, i.e. are married traditionally. There's a certain way you got to do it so it understands these are two married people. The above makes it very difficult, listen to this, for high schools to fully assist students. There's a state law that requires the high school to submit your students' FAFSA. Parents, I need you to waive that if you don't want them, you don't want to send your information to them, your social security number, your date of birth, all that. If you don't want to provide that information, send a waiver to the school immediately, because they're going to try to make your student feel funny because they're not participating. But all of you don't need the school to do it for you. Think about that. Any questions on that? That's pretty important. Okay. Other observations: when parents are a married couple, the information will be needed from both parents, regardless of how the taxes are filed. If one files married filing separate, the other files some other way, they're still in the same house. And they'll discover that because if the person who files married filing separate, they'll know there's another person, right? And they'll ask about it. When home has a parent and a step parent, the feds expect to be treated like a married couple, whether the tax filing was joint or not. I recommend that it be joint. It's so much easier for me to handle, but it's not always the case. A parent who claims that they were separated from their spouse but are still in the same home are treated like a married couple, and information for both must be submitted. The idea is what income is fused together in the home. That's how they determine it. But there are other things that can be happening, like 50-50 custody. I think either parent then could be the FAFSA parent. I think I told them that today, I believe. I don't remember. Well, now I actually do remember what I told. But things happen so fast. Sorry, whoever you are, God bless you. I do remember that. Unmarried couples who live together and the natural or adopted child is in the home are treated like married couples, and both need to provide information. Okay? because they're going to ask the student on their application when they apply to the college about who's home and all that. It's just very complicated when you start trying to get around rules. I advise against it heavily. If you're wondering about the FAFSA submission process, we're almost done here. The student or parent or EEP, it could be me, right? We get a secure code when we log in. It'll be sent via text. And I'll ask for that code to continue filing the FAFSA. I'll fill out the student section, or you will. And then the FAFSA is submitted, and that part of the FAFSA is done. The student section can be done. The student sits down, then the parents are invited to complete their FAFSA section via an email, but you don't need the email to do it. I can log in under the parent's email username and password and complete the parent section. So now you have the parent section and the FAFSA section done, and then the FAFSA is finally submitted. Yeah, so this is a 2 parts of the form process. A lot of people do this first step and submit the student part and they think they're finished, but they're not done. They have to come down here and do the parent section of the FAFSA. Okay, I just want to show you how tricky it can be, okay? All right. Here I have financial information that is on the 2024 tax return is automatically transferred to the FAFSA. That's where it happens. They put in information, you click and it looks and it transfers that tax data. If it doesn't find the tax data, now you got to provide all this temporary financial data, and I'll advise you of that. But usually I tell people file your return even before I actually do the FAFSA. And right now, if you know you haven't filed your 24 taxes, 2 things: you need to get filed quickly, and the second thing is for 4 years now, you're going to have to file on time to keep the financial aid rolling. All right, how about a few do's and don'ts for college touring to finish up the meeting? It should be highly noted that when colleges are too busy to accept your tour request, if you try to schedule for a tour and there's no free spots and they're too busy to accept your tour request, you should note that. I tell you can do your own walking tour or whatever. Ooh, I don't know about that, because usually most colleges get a lot of volunteers or whatever they have to do for this one time of the year. It's only a 1 or 2 month period. Tour on days that the school is open. That's very important. Try not to make your only visit during a weekend event that the campus sponsors. But sometimes you can't avoid it because of cost to come back again. But take that into account. They're setting up a perfect environment on the campus for you to learn about the campus, but maybe you want to see it when students are present. Okay, please tour, okay? Tour the schools. No drive-bys, Smiles. Go into the campus. Tour it, ask for a tour. Don't just drive by. I've seen people drive by a school and say, yeah, I visited, it didn't look like much. But you drove by on the weekend, there are no students there. You should go when there's students present. Use a structured tour. Self-tour is marginally okay, depending on who you arrange to meet. Because remember, colleges are people, not buildings. You should have certain meetings in mind where you're on campus. I can help you with that if I know the college. I can have people that I know that you can see and learn about the college. Colleges are people, not buildings. But yet, whenever you see a college as a picture of a building, then they show the people. Visit the academic centers and your major department, students. That's what you should do. What kind of academic support will I get while I'm in the school? Parents, maybe you need to drop in with them. Make it a real visit to the campus after the tour. In your major department, you should visit that department. See what kind of energy level is there and how excited they are that you're considering school. Plan your trips a month prior. It reduces your costs substantially. Consider our tours. We have a list of tours that I'll actually go ahead and take a look at right now for you. I mentioned our website. I'm just about done. I'm going to show you our website, how to get to it, how to use it. It'll only take me a second. So our website is www.westa, I'll put it in the chat, -eep.org. And if you look under the latest, you can tell what events that we're having, right? The latest is how I did that. Also in the upper left corner, that's the YouTube button I told you about. You can click that and go to our YouTube channel. We've done over 1,200 videos about college life. You can see the last few we've done here. Look at some of the ones from last year. I did some presentations to students going to college on how to succeed. That's that video down there. But you can look through the videos. There they are. Here's CSU. It's stuff that I couldn't cover in the meeting, or I didn't have a meeting, or that stuff that comes up in the news. CSU DEI. Why CSU is being smarter than UC with how they're handling all this DEI stuff. You know, UC is getting so mad at the president that it's affecting their game. They're not thinking straight. They're letting students lose programs because they don't want to. Oh, here we go. They want to have men on women's teams. Why fight the man? Just go ahead, get the money to your students. Why pick Bakersfield? I did a video on Charlie Kirk because who knew? I found out I had 7 students, yes, all Black, that were in Turning Point on 3 of my campuses. I didn't even know. Okay, so anyway, you'll see all the videos we do. Here's one about in-person homework help and free college prep workshops. You know, a drone flight train. If any student wants to fly an airplane, call me. You need to get in this drone flight training program. It's the bomb. Okay. Now you see things like this in my videos. I won't go over all of them, but that's how you get to it through the website. You simply go to the upper left corner. Then we're on TikTok, Instagram, all those things we're on as well. I don't think I'm logged in here, but you can go over there and do that. Let's see. Under programs, you see SAT prep, different things there, college checklist. Graduating students is our alumni look here, and career information. We have a lot of great career information. But anyway, under events is what I wanted to talk about, and we're done. This is the meeting we're having right now on September 28th. Get to know Boise State on October 11th. What a big day that's going to be here. We're going to have a Christian college fair at 11 o'clock, but Boise State will have a representative in our Family Life Center speaking to students. I wish you'd send your student and talk it up to your friends. I have a lot more to say about it. It's October 11th at 10 o'clock. And at 11 o'clock, we have the Christian College Fair. Why don't you come on down and walk through the fair, even if you think you're not students not looking at schools. Why would they want to do that? It's great practice for regular fairs. You know, I even do a video before they go. They could go practice on how to attend a college fair. In addition, it helps us because we're the only Black community that the Christian College Fair gets to on the west in California anyway. They do get to in other cities, to be fair. And I want to keep them coming to our program. And they do it because we have the foot traffic, or we've had it in the past. That's gone down in recent years. Why don't you help us out and come on out on the 11th and see Boise State and walk through the fair, just an hour and 15 minutes investment of your time, really. I wish you'd do that. Anyway, going on down here, you'll see our tours. Lakewood City Fair, we're going to have a table there. There's the speaking in Lakewood that guy scares me. I'm going to be speaking on the 22nd in Lakewood on affordability and some other things. And there's an affordability presentation at the Family Life Center too. Here's our tours. Boise State's on October 26th. CSU Bakersfield will be a 10 o'clock information session. They'll come to the church and do that on a Saturday, I believe. Yes, Saturday. Then we have the DC College Tour. We already have 5 signups for this tour. Haven't pushed it hard yet. November 8th to 10th. Now, see, you want to do it early because you'll find out when you look at this, if you wait till a month before, the price could go up. This price I have here is only good for a month because the way the airfares work, they start to go up. And this is $125 for 2 nights. that's going to probably have to go up too. That's a special offer. This is a 4-star hotel, really nice hotel. So why don't you RSVP for our tour? We're going to GW and Howard. If you're going to apply to one of those schools, there's nice pictures. You can surely get involved in that. Okay, what else do we have? Okay, what other tours do we have here? Okay. Seattle Pacific, we're going to try to get a group together to go there on the 21st for a special event called Space. And Sacramento State, we're going to go there on December 12th. And Sonoma State's going to be February 13th this year. We'll get over to the school February 13th, okay? So that's all of our tours of colleges that we have planned for this year. Okay, if there's any questions, I'll be glad to take those now. For sure, just let me know.